Top Gun Maverick broke all records when it was released, and fans and critics got blown away. One thing we think everyone can agree on is that Glen Powell plays Hangman to perfection. But do you know the actor actually auditioned for a separate role? He's recently reflected on that. Also, Powell's devotion to the new film was personal. We know you must want to know all the details. Well, you're in luck because we have them. So keep watching. First up, Top Gun Maverick's Glen Powell reflects on not getting cast as Rooster. The audience reaction was terrific when Top Gun Maverick got released in May. The studio expected the movie to be a success, but they did not expect it to debut at number 1 and remain in the top 10 for almost 20 weeks. They also didn't expect it to become the 5th highest grossing domestic release of all time, set a record for Paramount, or be Tom Cruise's most significant box office hit. Still, Maverick accomplished all of those things. Glen Powell, one of the film's actors, claims that he didn't get selected for the role of Rooster despite auditioning for it, and if it hadn't been for a joke tweet, he might have not gotten cast in one of the most iconic action films of all time. Moving on, let's talk about the tweet. Glen Powell tweeted a joke after learning he had gotten rejected for the role of Rooster in Top Gun Maverick. He said in response to a news report announcing Miles Teller's casting, quote, "I'm taking down all the Tom Cruise posters in my bedroom." The actor then thought 1 or 2 should stay for symmetry, but then he said that the posters were not going anywhere. Reflecting on his joke tweet, he decided to tweet it hours after director Joseph Kosinski called to tell him they'd cast Teller. Powell recalls that the press had gotten a hold of Miles' casting within an hour and it went viral. So he cracked a joke thinking he'd just say something dumb and funny before the sadness hit, but then something incredible happened when Tom Cruise called and pitched him an idea. There was some back and forth between him, Jerry Bruckheimer, Joseph Kosinski, and Chris McQuarrie. When asked if the tweet helped him get the role of Hangman, Powell replied that he may never know. In retrospect, he added, "It's strange when you think back on what little things you were unaware of that influenced the direction of your life, and you don't even consider them at the time." So he's happy he tweeted it, but we'll know for sure if it landed him the role. Following up, the decision worked out for the best. Top Gun Maverick went on to break box office records, so the decision worked out in the end. The legacy sequel begins 30 years after the original film when Cruise's Mav returns to the Top Gun Academy to train a bunch of grads through an almost impossible operation. The movie is already available digitally and will be released on Paramount Plus on December 22nd, 2022. Coming up, how could Top Gun 3 happen according to Glen Powell? Glen Powell has also given his thoughts on how Top Gun 3 could happen, but he has a few conditions for another high-flying sequel. Top Gun Maverick has had a long journey to the big screen. Paramount first announced the sequel in 2010. The first draft got finished 2 years later, but when the original director, Tony Scott, died, they put the sequel on hold. They invited Joseph Kosinski on board in 2017 to spearhead the project and resume pre-production. Maverick's release got pushed back to give Kosinski and his production crew more time to choreograph and shoot the film's complicated dogfight scenes, but they eventually delayed it because of the COVID-19 pandemic. While discussing the possibility of Top Gun 3 in an interview, Powell revealed that he would prefer a sequel that outperforms the previous installments or adds something meaningful to the narrative. Up next, Glen Powell's devotion to the new film was personal. The film Devotion tells the story of Jesse Brown and Tom Hudner, 2 decorated pilots who trained and served together during the Korean War. Glen Powell, who plays Hudner in the film, said that getting the chance to star in Devotion meant a lot to him because he'd learned about the Korean War firsthand from a family member who had fought in it, and that's something that carries a lot of meaning for him. Filming for the movie began in February 2021 and lasted until April 2021. The cast and crew shot in Savannah, Georgia, as well as Charleston, South Carolina, and Wenatchee, Washington. Moving on, what is Devotion's plot? The film will follow 2 pilots, Tom Hudner and Jesse Brown, and it's based on Adam Makos' book Devotion, an epic story of heroism, friendship, and sacrifice. The pilots come from diverse racial and economic backgrounds. They first meet when they join Strike Fighter Squadron 32, the group vowed to serve leading up to the Korean War, after a period of segregation and conflict. Brown and Hudner's friendship rises above all, notably during a critical incident in which one of their planes was shot down over enemy lines. Now, do you have to read the book before watching the movie, and where was Devotion filmed? It is up to audiences to decide if they wish to read the book before or after watching the film. It isn't necessary because the film adaptation is covering the same material just in a different medium, but the book is always available for curious curious fans who want to learn more about Brown and Hudner's past, if you wish to read the book to compare the film's adaptation, the book is available from Amazon in hard copy or as an ebook for Kindle. Not to mention, Glen Powell got Tom Cruise's blessing to do both Devotion and Top Gun Maverick. When Glen Powell decided to play the real-life Navy officer, someone else had the cinematic rights to the project. Powell recalls the person having a few drinks at a Hollywood party and telling him they weren't going to make this movie, and the actor asked whether they would mind if he made it. The answer was, sure, why not? When Glen approached Makos, he knew this story stood a chance. But the problem was that Powell wasn't the actor he is now, so Makos had to Google him. He said that his test for Powell was to ask the actor to meet Hudner and the Brown family in person. And then before you knew it, Glen and Makos were having waffles at the kitchen table with Tom. Powell also treated him like a grandfather. The actor says he's aware of the coincidence of playing in 2 naval aviation films in the same year. This is why when Top Gun came calling, the actor was conflicted about whether to pursue both films, but he took Tom Cruise's advice and took the role. What more? Both films carry on a passion for aviation. Glen told Tom that he already had a naval aviation film in the works, but Tom said there's enough room for 2, and the actor is not required to decide. Because Tom gave him the liberty to make both, the actor believes that the 2 films could not be more different. But they complement the passion for aviation and the legacy of the men and women in uniform. When Glen got offered the role in Top Gun, Makos voiced concern that it might ruin the project. He assumed the actor was going to leave them. Who wouldn't want to work with Tom Cruise? But with Cruise's approval, Hangman's role was born, and the character is very different from Hudner and continued with Devotion. Finally, Glen Powell is getting the recognition he deserves. There was a running joke on Twitter about how Glen Powell's parents had seen Top Gun Maverick 14 times in theaters and how happy they were their son was starring on the big screen. Powell tweeted that the film was making his parents broke, but this was all in good fun. Glen Powell was an excellent option for the role of Hangman, but the actor wasn't thrilled with the idea of the character. He commented on the script's first draft and expressed concern over Hangman's lack of character development. The actor wasn't thrilled about playing a pilot who didn't care about others, and at the very least, didn't make peace with Rooster near the film's end. Christopher McQuarrie, the film's screenwriter, went back and rewrote Hangman's character, making some changes, and Powell decided to do the project. And this was fantastic since Top Gun Maverick has given Powell the stardom he deserved years ago. It's easy to say that a white actor in his 30s who just starred in the world's biggest film doesn't need help. That may be true, but actors who aren't respected for their versatility are a sad case that can be fixed. Powell is on a steady path to becoming a major star, but it will only happen if he continues to get prominent roles and receives recognition for his work. That's a wrap for this video, my friends. What are your thoughts on Top Gun Maverick's Glen Powell? Please let us know in the comments below, and please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.